Hello, hello, hello. I thought we would spend a few minutes together and make some sugar-free peanut butter fudge. So I took this is from Aldi's. It is a organic creamy peanut butter with no sugar. And I used my handy dandy jar spatula. And I took a cup of it out and I heated it in the microwave for 1 minute. So it's real warm. Hello, everybody. And then we're going to cut into this bag of sugar-free chocolate chips. We need 1.5 cups. So this is a 3/4 cup. We'll use 2 of these. This is such a quick recipe. You're gonna love it. All right, we're just gonna stir that until the chocolate starts to melt. Since the peanut butter is hot, it should melt the chocolate. If it doesn't, we'll pop it back in for 30 seconds. So we'll just leave it sit and stir and stir and stir. So it looks like we might need a little bit more time in here, which is no problem. We're just gonna put it back in there for 30 seconds. Okay, so while that's working, let me talk to you about this product, okay? This is vanilla bean paste. This is what I like to use instead of using vanilla extract because it's much stronger. And it actually is about the same price as a little bottle of vanilla extract. So it's kind of a no-brainer. You do have to order it because I very rarely see it in the store. And if you have seen it in the store, I'd love for you to tell me that you've seen it in the store because I've not seen it in the store. So I usually buy it off a TikTok shop, but you can sometimes find it in Walmart or online. Okay, so for those of you just joining us, hi Vicki. For those of you just joining us, in here I have 1 cup of sugar-free peanut butter from Aldi's. And to that I added 1.5 cups of Lilly sugar-free chips. And we're just going to mix that together until all that chocolate is incorporated to that peanut butter. I'm pretty sure you can see where this is going. It tastes like a peanut butter cup, but a lot better for you because it doesn't have any added sugar. Okay, we're gonna add just a small capful of this vanilla bean paste. You just need a tiny bit. It has a ton of flavor. It's got all the scrapings from the vanilla beans. And you could actually do without it, but I just like that little extra. And then I have a pan in here. Hello. Yeah, it's hard to find in the store. I have to usually order it, but occasionally I've seen it in Walmart. But I'm using this little liner. It's actually an air fryer liner inside of a pan, and we're just gonna pour it into there. So all this chocolatey goodness is going to become chocolate peanut butter fudge without any sugar in it. And I'm telling you, it is delicious. Just get that last little bit out. I love this little silicone spatula too, because it's long handled, gets right in the jar and the bowl. This is my husband's favorite. He's a chocoholic, but we don't do sugar, so he has to have something, and this is what I make him because he's spoiled. No, just kidding. Gotta treat him nice. Gotta make him happy. All right, so there is our chocolate fudge. Now let me show you what it looks like after it's been refrigerated for a bit. This is like any good TV chef. I have some that's already done. So that's what it looks like when it's completely hardened. I'll cut a little piece so you can see it. Gotta get the handy dandy giant knife. And this is what it looks like when it's all hardened. And I will sacrifice myself and taste it for you. It's so good. So it's nice and creamy, has that nice chocolatey flavor. If you wanted to up the chocolate flavor, you could add a tablespoon of dark cocoa, but it's definitely not necessary. You can go crazy with it. You can put nuts in it, whatever you like. But as far as this is concerned, you know, the 3 ingredients in a few minutes and you're good to go. So I'm gonna go put this in the refrigerator and we'll keep talking. I gotta find room for it. Hang on a sec. I got all kinds of stuff in there. There we go. All right, let me clean up for just a second and we'll keep talking here. Move this aside. So I want to show you this dough mixer. So there's a method to my madness. Truly there is. Well, some days more than others. So one of the things I like to do is I like to offer some information. So in this case, some recipes and ways to promote it. So what I'll do, I'll post this recipe here, then I'll download it and I'll move it over to YouTube and I'll upload it to TikTok and Instagram, all over the place. It'll have my affiliate links for products that I love so that I make money that way. I also am monetized on Facebook and YouTube. So, and if I get enough people watching it, then I'll make money that way. So there's all different ways to do it. And then from there, I'll pin it to Pinterest, put it on Venable. So it's kind of all over the place. So this is something that I absolutely love to do. I love to bake and I love sharing these recipes because I want people to get back to making stuff from scratch. So I think it's like a super win. It's a win-win-win. Is that a thing? I don't know, but I love it. All right, let me drink some water. And maybe you can tell me in the comments if I should make a whole wheat bread or if I should make a white bread. What do you think we should do? This dough mixer is very reasonable. It's less than $100 and it takes 15 minutes to mix your dough and it does a great job. Okay, most of the doughs I make are by hand, but when I can get the help, I take it. So the other day I had a workout Friday. I guess it was Friday, yes. I worked a lot of triceps and man, I was so, Okay, I'm trying to read. Let's see. How long does it take to harden? It takes about an hour or so to harden. So sometimes if we're in a hurry, I'll scoop it into balls with a cookie scoop and then it will harden within 20 minutes. So it depends on how much time that you have. You could also put it into muffin liners so it comes out more like a peanut butter cup and that works great. Those harden really fast. So even the mini liners, like the little mini muffin liners work really great. Okay, so I think we're gonna do a whole wheat. Okay, so let me get the water for it. We are going to need 1.25 cups of water, so let me go grab that. You know, of course, I don't have my glasses on, so we're just gonna have to do like this. We're about right there. We're gonna go ahead and load that water in. I'm gonna show you how quick this is. We need 1/4 cup of butter. So that's 1/4 stick, or 1/2 stick rather. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. Actually, I'm gonna use a different knife. We'll use that for the fudge. Let's use this. Plop that right in. We need 1 egg. And I always crack my egg into a different bowl because you want to make sure that you're not getting all the shell in there. That's what you're saying. I finally caught your live. Yay! Welcome. Hello, cousin. Whole wheat bread it is. Okay, so we're gonna add in here. So we have our 1 1/4 cup of water, 1 egg, our half a stick of butter. Then we're gonna go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I love these. I've got these magnetic spoons, so I always know where they are. So if you're just joining us, we're making whole wheat bread. We made some sugar-free fudge. So we're gonna go ahead and put our 2 tablespoons of sugar in there, which is not a whole lot because you're gonna have a lot of flour in there. And we're gonna add our 2 teaspoons of yeast. So we'll put this one back and we'll grab our teaspoon one. And I use an instant yeast, so it's pretty strong. We'll add our 2 teaspoons of yeast. And if you've ever hung out with me before, you know that I usually make my dough by hand. But this machine is so efficient that I can make one in here and I can do one by hand at the same time, and I love that. Okay, so we need 2 2/3 cup of regular all-purpose flour. So here is my 2-cup measure. And there we go. And now we are going to add 1 1/3 cup of whole wheat flour. And I'm using King Arthur's whole wheat flour. For those of you that don't know, I went to the King Arthur School for Baking, so I truly love it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add our 2 cups and just slightly round it up for the extra third. You don't have to be too perfect because you can actually adjust it in the mixer, which is lovely. All right, let me get a dough scraper for a second. So if you don't have a bench scraper, these things are amazing. All right, so we're gonna add this extra whole wheat flour. And now all we need is our salt. So we wanna add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And if you know anything about me, I actually like a little more salt than that. So I'm actually gonna put 2 teaspoons of salt, even though the original recipe was 1.5. And here's where the magic comes in. We're gonna put this lid on. And it only takes, I'm gonna grab y'all so you can see it. It only takes 15 minutes, but it does an amazing job of mixing. So just like if you've ever used a bread machine, it stops and starts and stops and starts, which makes it very efficient and it doesn't overwork the dough, which I absolutely love. Thank you for all the hearts, y'all. I love ya. So we're just gonna move that aside, and while that is mixing and doing it thin, we're gonna make ourselves some sourdough. And you might wonder, what the heck does she do with all this bread? Well, I don't actually eat bread, but I do donate bread. So I just got back from donating 10 loaves of bread. So it doesn't go to waste. It hangs around. I'm gonna get more water for our sourdough. I'll be right back. Now for your sourdough, you're gonna need a scale. That's the easiest way to do it. So I'm gonna get my handy dandy scale out here. And we need 100, for this one, we're gonna use 120 grams of sourdough starter. Pop that bad boy open. We're almost there, almost there. We're gonna use up almost all the starter, and that's what we wanna do. We don't wanna maintain a lot of starter, because if you have a ton of starter, that means you're feeding it all the time, and it becomes like a full-time job. Who has time for that? All right, we're gonna add a little more starter from this batch. There we go. All right, now we're gonna add 300 grams of water. Maybe, there we go. And now I'm actually gonna turn this mixer off. We're just gonna let that sit there just like that. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add 500 grams of flour. Had to think about that word for a minute. And this is why I love the scale, because you can just pour it in. You know, versus having to do cups. It's a little more cumbersome. Oh gosh, I'm amazing. Oh, thank you. I don't think so, but I have fun with it. Okay. And let me tell you, I did a video on how to make a tart, and those people did not think I was amazing. They're like, where are your gloves? Where are your gloves? Even though I'm in my own house. Okay, so we're gonna take out some of that flour. I overdid it just a little bit. There we go. All right, we're gonna move that aside. And now we're gonna add our salt. So we're gonna zero that out, and we wanna add 14 grams of salt. 14 grams of salt. There we go. And now we'll put our handy dandy glove on. And I only mix it with one hand, so you only have to have one hand on there. Thank you. Oh. All right, so let's do it. We're gonna mix it up. We're gonna move our scale out of the way, and all you're gonna do is go around. Round and around and around and around. And then you're gonna squeeze it in the center. So you're gonna go around and squeeze, go around and squeeze. And once it forms a ball, and you can pick it up as one mass, that's all you need to do right now. Then we're just gonna cover it. We're gonna let it sit there. We're just gonna invert our glove, some nice clean hands. We're gonna let it sit there for 15 minutes and let it hydrate. I like these bowls because they have lids. We let it hydrate, and then we'll come back and we will fold the dough so that we can build some strength into there, get some gluten in there. But let's take a look at this other dough. I'm gonna move all of this out of my way. I do create a lot of dishes when I do this though. Holy moly. I'm like a dish queen. Let's take that aside. All right, so let's take a look at the dough that we just did in the dough machine because man, that makes it so much easier. All right, gloves on. Okay, so let's take a look. That was 1.5 minutes in the dough machine, and that dough is all together. Now I just pull it out. Now I could let it go the full 15 minutes. That is not a problem, but I feel like, you know, why bother? It's mixed, we're good. I can go ahead and I'm gonna move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. And I think the link for I will put the link for the dough machine underneath this when I'm done. But I wanna say, I know it's less than $100. And I've had mine for a couple years, so the prices have changed. But it's so, so worth it. If you make bread at home, this is the way to go. Because, quite honestly, you know, I think a loaf of bread has gone to like $5 a loaf now. And you can, thank you for all the love, you can make bread for, you know, $1 or less and have real whole ingredients. Now, if you didn't want sugar in this, you could actually use honey or, you know, anything, maple syrup or whatever you like. But just like that, your whole wheat dough is done, right? So it's super fast. And let's say you don't have a bowl. You can just use one of these little doohickeys. And you don't actually have to spray it. You can just put it right in there that way. But personally, I like to spray it with just a little spritz of olive oil. It doesn't add any flavor, but it just keeps it from sticking to the sides. So we're just gonna pop that bad boy in there. We're gonna let that rise for an hour. And then we'll, you know, punch it down. Let it rise again. We'll take it out and form the loaf. Let it rise in its final form, and then we'll bake it. And I just rinse and repeat. I do this all sort of day long so that I can come up with a good 10 loaves or so to donate. And in this way, it doesn't go to waste. Y'all get the recipe, the homeless people get food, and I have fun. That is like a super great deal, right? All right, so let's pretend that time has gone by and our sourdough has rested and done its thing. I'm gonna wipe this down first. And I'll put the recipes in the comments too so you have them. Because I know that's a lot to remember. All right, so now that we have a clean work surface, we're gonna take our dough back out. I'm gonna take some new gloves. Oh, baby, I can get them on. Wet hands, it's really hard to get your gloves on. All right, my friends, so here we go. We're gonna say that our dough has rested. We're gonna hit it, fold it. Hit it, fold it. Hit, fold. It's called slap and fold. Slap and fold. And what this does is it helps develop the gluten and it smooths out the dough very rapidly. So if I were just to, you know, just to fold it, it would take a lot longer to develop than it does this way. So you can see it's starting to smooth out, it's starting to look like a regular loaf. Hey, hey, welcome, welcome. So now it is nice and smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in here. For all you purists, don't look. I'm spritzing it with olive oil. But what the olive oil does for sourdough is it helps preserve it. And it also gives it a little bit softer crumb, which is fabulous because one thing about the homeless, they can't have super crusty bread because they just don't have the dental health for that. So adding a little bit of olive oil helps soften it a bit, and then they can, you know, then when I slice it, they can eat it. So that's what we want. Want it to be edible. So let me review for you what we've done. I'm going to take a look at the fudge that we started with. It's still pretty soupy. Okay, so if you're just joining us, we started out with some sugar-free fudge. We used this Lily's. This is what the fudge looks like when it's hardened. We used this Lily's, and we used this no sugar added peanut butter in combination. So 1 cup of peanut butter that was warmed for a minute in the microwave, 1.5 cups of chips. We put the whole thing back in the microwave for 30 seconds and added a teaspoon of vanilla paste. This is what that looks like. And then we used a machine to make our whole wheat dough, which is what this is. And you can see already how much softer it is. I can actually squeeze it. It's nice and smooth. So that is a win. And then we made our sourdough. This is a high proportion sourdough starter, or it has high proportion of sourdough starter in here. So it's gonna be very holy and very happy. So if you're having trouble with your sourdough or you're just not getting the crumb that you're looking for, try increasing your starter a little bit. And I suspect you'll have a higher rise and a little bit more bubbly action. Sometimes when our starter is a little sad, it needs a little boost to get, to get moving. So that is what I would recommend. And my chocolate eater's here, so I'm gonna save this little bit of chocolate fudge for him, because my husband's a chocoholic. But that's good, because that inspires me to come up with new recipes. So if y'all have any questions, whether it's monetization or whether it's recipes or whatever you want, just shoot those questions in the chat, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I do have a subscription. It's 99 cents a month, where you can work one-on-one with me, either recipes or making money online, whatever the topic is that you want. So thank you for hanging with me. I hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you for all the love and the hearts and smiles and everything that makes my day. I love y'all. Mwah. Bye.